Well, there went my GPS. I'm just crossing into Canada. This is what it looks like when you drive in. Just try pointing in one direction, huh? Man, my GPS has just said, caution, a border is ahead. I'm sure they're going to have to, like, inspect us or something on the way here. Haven't quite gotten to that part yet, but I wanted to get the bridge anyway. You can probably see it behind me now, I don't know. Or you can take a look in my rear view mirror and catch a glimpse of it there. Anyway, yeah, that's all I wanted. So I'll be right back. So I guess as long as I'm driving to Con Bravo over in Ontario, I've got a couple more hours to go, so jeez Louise, why am I going so fast? Yeah, I know I'm going fast because I'm catching up to that guy, and he's definitely doing 75. Anyway, okay, back down to 70, here we go. Even that's over the speed limit here, but anyway, so, you know, this seems like a good time as any because I need to be telling the rest of my life story here, and I know people have been waiting to see the rest of it, or hear the rest of it, I guess. So, I almost wonder if I shouldn't point the camera at myself, but because that could get monotonous, I don't know. Plus, you might even be able to hear me better that way. I might turn it around at some point, but not right now. So, I guess when we last left off, I had just gotten my teeth fixed. It was like the beginning of 2002, and we just moved into the house on 2nd Street. And those are pretty good times. But I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what, though. Like, when I got my teeth fixed and I actually did get the dentures, it was really weird for a long time. Because, you know, for 22 years, I'd gotten, even if I didn't like the way my teeth looked, I had gotten used to them. You know, and that was basically me. You know, I saw me when I looked at them. But, you know, when I put in those dentures, this sort of uncanny valley thing happened where, like, I still recognized myself, but I didn't, it seemed like I was looking at a different person, like when I tried taking pictures of myself. So, and I distinctly remember this one picture I took where I was halfway hanging out of the attic window. But I guess the point of the picture was to make it look like I was in the air or something, because I had the camera pointing out of the window so you couldn't see that I was hanging out of an attic window. You just looked like me up in the air. And this picture, I don't know if I still have it, but I'm pretty sure I don't, and it's too bad, because it was actually a pretty good picture. But I took that picture of myself, and I was basically smiling with the dentures. And I always consider that to be like the first picture I took of me with the new teeth. And it was not a bad picture. I mean, it was just weird. It was just weird to see myself like that. And what it was like, okay, anybody, if any of you guys have seen Memento, there's a pic randomly at the end of that movie where Guy Pearce is smiling. And it's weird to see because throughout the entire movie, he's all depressed and everything because he's trying to find his wife's killer and all that. Then suddenly out of the blue, at the end of the movie, you get this picture where he's got this huge smile on his face. Well, that picture I took hanging out the attic window always reminded me of that picture of him in that movie of Guy Pearce. Because they kind of looked almost exactly the same to me. But anyway, so I always remember that. But yeah, living in the attic was tough because, you know, I mean, at first it was okay because it was winter and all, and I could just shut the windows, stuff a blanket in there, and turn on the electric heaters, you know. But by the time I got my teeth fixed, it was April. You know, the weather was warming up a little bit, and by the time I got to spring and summer, I mean, man, it was getting pretty hot. And as we all know, heat rises, and if you're living in the attic, well, you're bound to be experiencing some pretty hot-ass temperatures. I never actually had a thermometer to measure how hot it got up there, but that was definitely some of the most uncomfortable conditions I've ever slept in my life. And, you know, it's like, I don't blame my sister for that or anything, because, like, she bought the house, and I was only living with them because I was too much of a loser to find my own place anyway. And even still, if I'd wanted to, I could have moved into the basement, you know. That's what I did when I moved in with Dad on West Cecil Street. So, you know, I could have done that. There were times when I actually went and slept in the basement because it really was just too hot up there. And it didn't help anything that I worked the third shift, so... The worst part about working the third shift, I'll tell you this right now, and I had this rant so many times that I've lost count, but basically here's the thing. Like, most people like to sleep before they go to work, right? Like, if you start work at 7 or 8 in the morning, you're going to want to sleep overnight, you know, so you be rested up for it. So you wake up a few hours before, and then you go in, and you start fresh, you know? Well, when you work third shift, if you want to do the same thing, then that means you have to sleep in the afternoon so that you wake up fresh at around 10 p.m. to go in. You know, it doesn't do you any good to, you know, wake up early in the afternoon, like 4 or 5 or whatever, you know, and then go into work having been awake for 8 hours already. That's no good. But sometimes I did that, but most of the time I didn't. But see, what that means, though, is that, number one, I was in the attic, I was sleeping in the afternoon, which was the hottest part of the day. And number two, if I ever wanted to do anything, I basically couldn't because I was sleeping in the afternoons, and that's when everybody does everything. You know, it's like Friday night at 8, you know? Nobody ever goes on a date at 2 in the afternoon, or 1 in the afternoon, or 10 in the morning, you know? But that's when I had to do all my stuff, because that's the only time I was awake. So anytime that somebody had a birthday party, or we went to karaoke, or just anything, it was always in the afternoon. You know, and after a while, I'm just like, why are people so predictable, you know? But it's like, you can't blame them for that. I mean, whatever. But those are rough times when I worked that third shift, and that was one of the worst parts about it, was just that it completely took away my social life. I couldn't go out, like, cruising with Josh. I mean, it's just, I couldn't do anything. It's like, everything I did was in the morning. So that kind of sucked. But anyway, so over the course of time, let me see. So we're in 2002 here. Well, I remember summer of 2002, Mom came to visit, and I took a few more pictures then that looked really weird because I still was getting used to my teeth. I mean, it took a long time to get used to those teeth. It must have been like 2003, middle of 2003, before I ever really was totally used to them. So there were these 2 pictures I took of lottery tickets, me holding some lottery tickets. Because when Mom came to visit, one of the things we did was go to the casino while she was here. So we went that year, that was June. So sometime in June, we went to bingo with Mom, and I actually won. I won $300 on the number I-30. And it's weird because it's like I knew it was going to come out before it even did. I could just feel it. I guess I was just visualizing it and somehow... It makes it feel like I made it happen when I really didn't, but whatever. All I know is I did good. And so anyway, after I won the $300, we were on our way out of the casino, and I stopped randomly by this poker machine. And I stuck a $5 bill in it, and I hit 4 of a kind. Won another $75. So, a little last-second addition to my winnings. And I'll tell you what, man, $375 is not a bad haul. You know, and I'm surprised I didn't get hooked on it and go back there more often, but I didn't. Well, that didn't come till later, but beside the point. I never really did consider, well, I don't know, man. I worked at Motomart, and I was playing those stupid scratch-off lottery tickets all the time. I was totally convinced. Man, I made these charts on graph paper of the lottery results, and I used to, alright, I'm not going to go into detail about that because that's so freaking boring, but man, I used to watch for patterns, and I even had some customers come in and ask if they could make copies of it because they were into it like I was, you know, studying the patterns and saying if so-and-so hasn't happened in a while, maybe it'll happen now, and just whatever. Obviously, that is gambler's fallacy. I'm not going to argue about that with you people. Not today. But anyway, 72. To toilet tailgating kills leaves some space. Yeah, that sounds good. I don't know why we're slowing down. We got 2 semis side by side here. The thing is, you know, people complain about that, but I saw something on Reddit one day. A semi-truck driver was explaining, you know, the process when you're driving one of those things. It's so much more complicated than you would think it is. Because it's, you know, it's not as easy as just hitting the brakes to slow down or hitting the gas to speed up. You know, it's all about weight distribution and stuff. You know, and the slightest little incline on the road totally messes it up, and you have to readjust your, you know, what gear you're in or stuff to, you know, get through it. Anyway, it's really weird. So yeah, so I don't tend to complain too much about that. Not since I saw that. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So I won $375 at the casino. Also, another thing that I remember, well, 80? Seriously? Only 80? Oh man, I better slow down. That's only like 50. I could switch my speedometer to kilometers per hour if I wanted to, but I don't actually remember how to, so... Anyway, so one other thing that I remember about that summer that really sticks out to me, and it's usually one of the first things I think about too when you say 2002, is Avril Lavigne. She had that song Complicated, and I was so pissed off because, like, on the Muzak at work, there was this other song called Complicated, and it was a country song, and basically it went like this: complicated, so frustrated. Like, literally, that's it. And it just so happened to come out at the same time as Avril Lavigne's Complicated it. And so for the longest time, I thought that was Avril Lavigne. I was like, what? Like, what in the world are people getting their hives about, you know, that song sucks. Why is that getting so popular? Come to find out, there's two songs, you know, called Complicated that come out at the same time. It's like, well, good Lord, you know, way to sucker punch. So needless to say, when I heard the real Complicated, it was awesome by comparison to what I thought it had been all this time. So that's how I ended up liking it so much. You know, for once it wasn't to impress a girl or some shit like that. Like with Hanson, you know. Well, I mean, even Hanson. I didn't even talk about that, did I? I mean, I started liking Hanson because I liked Beverly and she liked Hanson, and so by the transitive property of love, I had to like them too. Let me see, is it ripped to 20 minutes yet? Yeah, that was 12:24, okay. I want to make sure that I don't let it go over. It's slightly bumpy here. We're doing 75 right now. It's not... Yeah, I'm going to hang back a little. So eventually I got the CD, the Avril Lavigne CD, you know, the entire album. And it was surprisingly not that bad. I mean, I was desperate for love back then, just like I always am. So, you know, I wrote my big review and I said... See, the title of that album is actually called Let Go. So when I wrote the review, I made the title something like, oh, I'd hug Avril Lavigne, but I'd probably never let go. It's just so stupid, you know? Because she doesn't really strike me as the kind of girl that would want a hug. Like, she's too cool and punky and hip for that, you know? Yeah, so I remember just listening to that with the windows wide open and the fan blowing, blasting, you know, on me. Doing whatever I can to just... stay sane. You know, sometime later, I guess that was when John Mayer's album came out, and I got that, Room for Squares. That was alright. I don't know. I'm not much of a John Mayer person. I was for a while, but again, it was more so to fit in with the crowd than it actually was because I liked the music, which is too bad. There are some songs by him that I absolutely love. Bigger Than My Body and Clarity are two of my absolute favorites. And they're right back to back on his second album, or was it his third? I don't know. Anyway, well, you know, time went on, and I was just staying up in the attic, and eventually the weather started to cool down again, and then the Nintendo GameCube came out. Well, this is weird because I was so... This is just an example of how out of the loop I was. When the GameCube came out, it was around the same time as, what was it, either the Xbox? I think it was the Xbox, like the very first Xbox was coming out around the same time. All I know is that I remember I was sitting in the break room one day and I was making a tape. And I saw something in the newspaper about the Xbox, like the new system. And I looked at it for a second and I was like, nah, I don't want to read about that. But then I caught myself saying that and I was like, well, wait a minute, Tim, of course you want to read about it, man. It's the new Nintendo. I mean, come on. I thought the Xbox was the new Nintendo system. That's how out of the loop I was. And eventually, the reason I wanted to read about it was because I'd heard that it played DVDs, and I was like, oh, that's cool. A Nintendo system that plays DVDs, that'd be awesome. Man, I'd love to have something like that. Well, you know, and then as I was reading it, the more I thought about it, I was like, wait a second, no, because the Nintendo is the GameCube. Eventually, I did remember that it was the GameCube, like a few minutes after what I had said there about, oh, the Xbox is the new Nintendo. Yeah, so... So anyway, the day the GameCube came out, I got it. and I got Super Mario Sunshine. I still remember, you know, going into the Media Play store thinking they were going to be sold out, worried, you know, because it's Nintendo, come on, you know, first day of release, you would think. But no, I went in there and I got my GameCube and I got my Super Mario Sunshine, and there was literally nobody else in the store looking for it. Like, the shelf was totally stocked and I was the first one in. And I picked it up and I got mine. My speed was 82 there just now. Okay, yeah, but I got my system, I got my Mario Sunshine, and there was no competition, no other customers looking for it. But then, of course not, you know, it's like, you know, between that and the fact that nobody at Pick and Save ever mentioned video games practically as long as I was there, makes me wonder, what is it really? Anyway, my first several memories of Mario Sunshine were playing it in that hot-ass attic. And it was just perfect, you know, because as someone who has never been the biggest fan of Sunshine, I like the way it looks sometimes. I just don't like the way it feels sometimes. I like it more than I did 10 years ago, I'll tell you that. But for a long time, man, I was pretty adamant about, you know, I did not like Sunshine, you know. I hate horrible, wholesome Sunshine. I hate it. No, okay, anyway. Anyway, yeah, so I played the game, and I remember falling asleep a lot to it. Every time I hear the Delfino Plaza music, I think about that. About falling asleep on that love seat or whatever I was sitting on up there, with that weird-ass TV with the messed-up speakers. That's where I couldn't hear the dialogue or anything. And, well, oh, here we go again. Boy, how much longer can this stupid Death Star... You know, I mean, what is this, a Death Star tunnel? Seriously? Why do they even take all the time to put these up? Or are they worried somebody's going to drive into people in the oncoming lane? Because they don't do that when it's not there. I mean, good lord. Because I played Mario Sunshine up there, I played Star Fox Adventures up there, I played Metroid Prime. Did I play that up there? I'm pretty sure I played that up there. That was really, okay, there was, that was really the only 3 games. There was Mario Sunshine, Metroid Prime, Star Fox Adventures. I want to say there was one more, but, well, because I didn't play any of the Mario parties. I'd never played a Mario Party until I met Runaway Guys, until I met Emil and John. That was the first time in my life I'd ever played a Mario Party. It was that night, so it was crazy. Anyway, well, this is much better, thank you. We're out of the Death Star tunnel now. So, oh, you started over, didn't you? Well, you probably didn't miss much there. Anyway, yeah, so, Mario Sunshine, Star Fox Adventures, Metroid Prime. Well, eventually Wind Waker came out, too. Now, I remember Wind Waker was kind of a big deal, because at the time, we were living in the house, and my sister's boyfriend, let me see, let me try to get my timeline straight here. Because at some point she had her first baby. That was June of 2002. So yeah, so the baby was already in the picture by the time I got the GameCube. But unfortunately, the boyfriend, her father, I really don't know what to call him. I don't want to use people's real names in this, to be honest. But so well, he had some trouble finding a job, and to be honest, you know, based on what I saw, although I couldn't be certain of it, but based on what I saw, he spent most of his time just sitting around the house. And maybe it was his decision, maybe it was a mutual decision that he was just going to be a stay-at-home dad, and I mean, I guess that would have been fine, except that, well, you know, they weren't exactly always able to keep up on the bills, and I remember having to buy a washer and dryer for them, and then later, it was crazy, I actually won $1,000 in the lottery. It was on September 11th, 2002 was when I won it, when I picked the numbers. The actual date that I won was September 12th, but the day I picked the numbers was the 11th, so that's always weird to me. But, yeah. But then I ended up just giving that to them, so... I don't even remember if it was actually that $1,000 or if it was a $1,000 loan. I remember at some point I did take out a $1,000 loan, but whatever, you know, it's like, so they needed the help, and who was I to say no? I mean, shit. Oh, I should have stayed in that lane. Maybe I can get around this semi before it closes in. I think I'll do that. Anyway. Yeah, so it got to a point where I got kind of sick of it because it's like they were always in trouble, but he wasn't looking for a job. He wasn't even really attempting. At least as far as I could tell, he wasn't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he was when I was sleeping in the afternoons. You know, far be it for me to say. Because I was just complaining about how I sleep the afternoons, you know, and that would have been the time when he would have been doing it. So, I mean, I don't know. He could have been. I don't know. But whatever it was, he wasn't finding much of anything. Or if he did find a job, he'd lose it 2 weeks later or a month later. So whatever, but, you know, eventually I was just like, okay, I gotta get out of this, you know, I gotta find my own place here so I don't end up, well, you know. I just felt like it was my time to finally go ahead and start moving out and living on my own. Because the other thing that bothered me was, well, you know, what if I met a girl or something? Yeah, I mean, fat chance of that, you know, but what if it happened, you know? I mean, what would I tell her, you know? What would I take her home to, you know? It's like I would really have a place to take her to, you know? So, having my own place, there was that security, and that gave me more of a reason to maybe, you know, be a little more assertive and diligent in my search, my never-ending search, whatever. So around May, it's May 1st. May 1st is like a really crazy day in my history. It seems like something always happens on May 1st. Anyway, May 1st, 2003 is when I moved out on my own into my very own apartment. Oh, jeez, that thing is never going to stop doing that, I tell you. Yeah, May 1st, 2003, I moved into my very first apartment of my own. So I was 26 years old when that happened. It's hard to believe that. But there it is, you know. So, oh, but the reason I was saying that Wind Waker was important was because one of my tapes has like what I would consider to be my #1 rant on it. And jeez, get on the road, you silly. Falling off the road. Yeah, but the thing is, when I got Wind Waker, I didn't want to play it. Like, I didn't want him to know about it, is the thing. Because I knew that if he found out I had Wind Waker, then he would spend all his time playing it, and he would do that instead of looking for a job. And I didn't want to give him other stuff to do to distract him from what he should have been doing. You know, so I couldn't let him know that I had Wind Waker. But the problem was, he was coming up to smoke. You know, because we couldn't smoke down there where the kids were, so we did all our smoking in the attic. Well, he would come up there every hour or two to have one. You know, so there was no way I could just sit down and play the game without him finding out about it, so I couldn't play it. I had it sitting right there, the game right there in the GameCube, and I couldn't play it. So, and so now that you have the context for that, maybe I can go ahead and roll that rant. I haven't copied it yet from the tape, but I found the tape a couple days ago. So apparently I still have it, so it'd be interesting to hear that again.
It's okay to have expectations once in a while. Especially when you're expecting just a tiny bit. You're expecting them to do the least that they could possibly do. The least that a person should do in that circumstance, you know? And there's no debating about what a person should do in that circumstance. There's just debating about whether or not he can do it. Whether or not somebody gives him a break. I mean, it's one thing with me, you know, because I was still living with my parents. I didn't go out and have a kid and buy a house and do all that shit, you know? I didn't have a girlfriend to take care of. I didn't have any kind of responsibilities in my life. I still lived with my parents, you know? So it wasn't that big a deal that I didn't get a job. If he goes out there, he has a baby, and he still doesn't get a job, you know? I just want to sit around and have to play video games all day. You don't know how mad it makes me? It makes me so mad to see people do that. You know, do that with their life. Throw it away, you know? They just want to live on welfare, you know? And that's what they ought to do. They have to apply for welfare, you know? But they would never get it, you know, because he's physically able to work if he just get off his ass and go, fucking do something. Sorry, but, And you come up there and complain to me all you want about the pills, you know, but I'm putting more towards it than you are, so I don't know what you're telling me, you know, all this shit about for. I don't know what you're telling me that your situation is so bad when I'm helping it more than you are, you know. I should be the one complaining to you because I don't even have a situation. You know, if I had time to sit around and play video games 7 days a week, then I might enjoy them too, you know, but I can't enjoy them. I can't even play them, you know, because I know that if he finds out I've got Zelda, gonna do anything, you know? If he finds out that I got Zelda, we're fucked. We're fucked. And it doesn't even matter, you know, because I know that a video game is the first way that he's gonna choose to spend his time rather than get a job. You know, he's gonna go out and play video games instead. That's gonna be the thing that keeps him busy, you know? He's not actually gonna go out and get a job until he's bored enough and he has nothing else to do. And he's never gonna have nothing else to do. That's why I can't tell him about Zelda, because that would give him something to do. I'm trying to get him to a point where he has nothing to do. So all he's gotta do is take some of Mary's money, go out and buy a game for the PlayStation. Now he's got something to do, you know? Something to keep his mind off the fact that he's just a fucking magnet! Ah! Legion! It's getting on my nerves, you know? It's really getting on my nerves. It's just thinking about last nerve, you know? It's been too long now. It's been too long. It's been way too long. Sorry, it's a year and 8 months. Why isn't he throwing their life away like that? He did his W-2 last year and he made less than $2,000. That's less than I made in Baltimore working 2 days a week. And now I'm asking off every other week because I keep working in the bakery, you know? I wasn't even working 2 days a week there. I was working 1 day a week half the time. When I've had to take time off, you know? I was working 2 days a week in Baltimore, and I mean 3 times what he did last year. Just at that one job. By working 2 days a week. So it's just working 1 day a week would have made more than he did last year. Look, for a whole year, 1 day a week? You know what I get for that? I'm working 7 days a week. You know, and he has the right to come and pound to me about the situation? No! No! Never! There's no way in hell! God. Flame killer's coming out, boy, I tell you. He's crazy. He's a crazy man, let me tell you. Well, he's only crazy because he's been driven to being that way, though. You know? I don't just say these things for no reason. I say it because I'm provoked into saying them by other people's apathy. Last worst I can have said it better. I'm frustrated by your apathy. You know? There's so much of it in the world. There's so many people that do that in this world. They just sit around and they do that. You know, they do nothing. They do nothing about their problems. They just wait for it to all pan out, you know? It's not going to pan out, you know? It's not going to pan out by you just sitting there. It's not going to pan out by me giving you an extra $200 a month. It's not going to pan out by Mary getting a second job. It's going to pan out by you getting a job with it! Ah!
But yeah, I was pretty mad. Like, I guess I'm not really expressing how angry I was. You know, maybe I mean, right now, it's like, in retrospect, looking back, I really don't see the point. It's like, sure, I was mad, but what was I gonna do, you know? Alright, I gotta get around this thing. This is pissing me off. This one's coming up behind me here. 2, actually. So you can bet, when I got into that new apartment, the first thing I did was put on Wind Waker and cook some chicken fingers, baby. And I had the time of my life. You know, and I went and saw Alex and Emma at the movie theater, and just this and that and the other. And it wasn't even 3 months later, they got kicked out of the house, so looks like I got out just in time. But here's the thing, you know, they didn't have anywhere to go, and my stupid ass, for whatever reason, had chosen to move into a 2-bedroom apartment instead of a 1-bedroom. Well, here's the thing, when I went in to get the apartment, I was going to go into a 1-bedroom, and it was going to be $425 a month. But when I did that, they told me, well, you know, we have 2 bedrooms for $435 a month. It's a whole extra bedroom for only $10 more a month. Why don't you just get that one? And I'm like, oh, hey, okay, a whole nother bedroom for $10 a month. Sure, I'm never going to do anything with it, but hey, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll meet a girl and I'll have somewhere for her to move into, you know? And so I took the 2-bedroom, you know? If they wouldn't have offered me that, I mean, I should have just taken the one from the beginning. So I took the 2-bedroom, and well, a couple months later, August, it was around August, the middle of August, they had to move in with me. So now instead of me living with them, it was them living with me. And so, well, at the time, they told me they would only need 2 weeks, you know, and I thought, okay, you know, but I knew better right then. You know, the first day I knew it wasn't going to be 2 weeks. Because if that was all the time it would have taken for them to get back on their feet financially, they could have done that anytime. Why'd they have to wait until the very last second, you know? I hate doing this because I know she's probably watching and feeling so bad right now. And it's like, you know, I mean, things happen in this world. We all have a story. And I know they had a story too. You know, and in retrospect, I don't blame them for any of this. I mean, I wouldn't change anything about my life because everything that happened in my life has led up to where we're at today. And if I were to change any of that, I would risk blowing the whole thing apart, so I wouldn't do that. I feel like it's all part of a beautiful picture now when I look back on it. At the time, it was frustrating, sure. I was angry. but I just didn't understand that it was part of my, you know, part of the plan, you know, part of my story, part of my history. So, but at the time, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy that I couldn't smoke in my own living room. I wasn't happy that, you know, that second baby was on the way and he still was doing nothing about trying to support it. I mean, it wasn't long before he found out about Wind Waker. He went straight to it, started playing it every day, all day. And meanwhile, I was going to work and trying to sleep whenever I could. And eventually she had the second baby in September, so now there were both of them, 2 babies in my apartment. You know, and my landlord thought I was living there by myself. Still, sometimes it's fun, though, to hear myself just get all riled up and be like, and my voice just, oh my god. I'm such a freaking comedian. That's a perfect C in comedian. Anyway, so, well, now I could have just run off any old time I wanted to. But she didn't have that luxury, so it was probably, who knows, like, I can't even imagine how bad that must have been for her. But, you know, but then again, I mean, I guess that's, you know, having kids is its own special kind of joy. Things got pretty tense there for a while. And meanwhile, at Pick and Save, I had the little, you know, I had a few crushes here and there. There was this girl, Robin, who worked in the produce department. It's weird because, like, every single time that they hired someone new in produce, they were cute. It doesn't matter if it was a girl or a guy, they were just gorgeous people over there all the time. And I guess it would make sense that people who wanted to work with fruits and vegetables all day long would be gorgeous, wouldn't they? But I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many people they hired over there that I almost fell for. Because there was another one, Jenny, who didn't go very far, but Robin went kind of far. The only thing with Robin is she kind of looked like a guy, but she wasn't, but whatever. Sometimes I called her Kenshin Guy on my tapes, because there was this guy on E-Opinions who wrote called Kenshin Guy, and he had this picture that looked really funny, because it was like up close on his face. What is going on here? Jeez. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's around when that commercial, I don't know, man. I don't know what made me, well, what made me think of that commercial was Kenshin Guy, who looked like Robin, but anyway, well, that's not how I met your mother, I'm sorry to say, but, anyway, she came and went, she left, you know, and she quit the job, and then this girl named Becky came along. I mean, I fell so hard for her, and the weird thing about it is that it just kind of happened out of the blue. Usually, like, if I like a girl, it happens from the first moment I see her, or within like the first week. But Becky was rocking around in that place for like 6 months before I realized all of a sudden one day that I just liked her. I couldn't explain that at all. It just hit me like lightning one day. I realized I did. And this was like, I'd seen her 100 times walking back and forth and thought nothing of it. She was just another person in the store. And then just one day I realized I liked her. It makes no sense. I've never understood that. And in some ways, I feel like that's really the last time, I mean, aside from Michelle, you know, that's really the last time that I've been in love and wasn't expecting it to happen, you know. But that's 2003. I mean, that's 13 years ago now. Anyway, well, I did something stupid with Becky, basically. You know, it started out fine. We had some interesting memories and some good times, like cutting up in the break room and stuff. And if I would have just left it at that, you know, who knows, we might have become friends. But then this one day, I got all stupid and horny, and, you know, I left this note saying, "Dear Becky, good morning, hope your Tuesday treats you well, hugs, Tim." And because I signed it hugs, you know, she's not stupid, she knew what it meant. So she basically kind of sort of cut me off after that for a while. You know, and we did eventually start talking again, but, you know, but there was always like that unspoken thing of like, okay, I know you like me, but I'm not interested, so let's just leave it at that. And that's kind of how I went, you know. But we did have a song, it's Why Don't You and I by Santana. That was totally me and Becky's song. Every time I hear it, even now, I still think of her. I hope she's doing okay wherever she is, though. She was cool. She was really cool. She didn't deserve some of the crap, the awkwardness that she probably had to put up with on account of me constantly, you know, being stupid. You know, if I would have just left a note saying, to whom it may concern, have a wonderful day, hugs, you know, instead of writing the note straight to her, just write it to anybody who happens to walk in there. That wouldn't have been so bad, because then I could still prove that I'm a sweet person without being all like, oh my god, I love you. Just don't ever do that. It's so cringy. I came home that morning and I was just so compassionately thinking about every second, thinking she could be in there reading it right now, and oh my god, what is she gonna think? Oh boy. The thing is, there was this other lady that was in there. This other lady that often hung out with us in there, me and Becky. Her name was Peg. Wait a minute, I'm using real names here. Well, I mean, I don't mind using real names of pick and save people, because it's a lot harder, you know, potentially for people to figure out who they are. Hell, I've looked them up myself, and I know their last names, and I still can't find any of them. So you're not going to, don't worry about it. Anyway, yeah, so this other lady, Peg, sometimes hung out with me and Becky in the break room, and we always, you know, cut up, and when Becky wasn't there, me and Peg would talk. When Peg wasn't there, me and Becky would hang out and talk and stuff. Well, the day after I left that note, it was just me and Peg in the break room, and she was as silent as the sea, like the Dead Sea. She didn't say a word to me that day, and that was when I knew, oh shit. And of course, on my tapes, I went on and on about, oh, she's got her little lapdog Peg to sit there and guilt trip me. It's like, shut up, Tim. You know you messed up. Don't even deny it. Don't even deny it. Can't help but wonder where she's at these days, what she's doing, though. Anyway, so time went on, and of course, you know, I was getting increasingly agitated over having the babies in my house and them not being able to contribute anything for the rent. They were barely able to get by themselves. She was trying to go to school at the same time as working a job, while he was doing basically nothing. You know, so I can see why she was mad. And eventually, he got hauled off to jail for something at some point, because he didn't visit his parole officer or something. And so there was a time where he was in jail and she didn't have a choice. She had to get babies. I guess his mom watched the kids or something. So I caught a little bit of a break there in November, where I got to be by myself in my apartment again, which was really nice. But eventually, when he got out of jail, it went right back to the way it was. The kids were in there all day long. He was in there all day long, smoking my cigarettes, coming in. He's basically smoking off my supply because he didn't have his own. You know, and I'd buy TV dinners. He would go in there and eat them up. You know, and it's like, you can't blame him. I mean, shit, if they're starving, what else are they supposed to do? I don't know. It's like, I didn't know what to do. It's like, we couldn't talk about it, you know, because it was too awkward. Like, you know, there's no way she could talk to me about the situation without basically blaming him, which I knew she didn't want to do. I know she didn't want to add fuel to my fire. Yeah, but before 2004 even started, I had a feeling it was going to be a crazy year. One of the most crazy years of my life. I often use the word apocalyptic to describe my predictions for it. Like, I thought it was going to be an apocalyptic year. Because at this point, everything was building up to a head. I was, you know, about the living situation, I was so angry, and I couldn't say anything because there were kids involved, you know, and it's like, you don't want to put your own flesh and blood out on the street, you know. But what else was I going to do, you know? I didn't have a choice anymore. So, anyway, well, as 2004 started, January, let me see. I remember listening to Reveal by R.E.M. a lot. There's a song on there called She Just Wants to Be. It's like a really haunting sort of melody to it, but it always takes me right back. There was a lot of albums in that period of time that really resonate strong with me, just because of how crazy my life was then, how memorable everything was. But anyway, I don't know if I want to get started on 2004 now or not. We may have to split this at some point. If you do split a future self, I guess this is as good a spot as any.